No.
No.
I am not Jack Farmer. It is Monday night, and you are on the Wrestling Inc. YouTube or Twitch or whatever you might be doing live, or if you're choosing to do the audio-only version because you don't want to see us, that's okay. It is another Wrestling Inc. post-Monday Night Raw podcast, and we're happy you're joining us live or whenever, as we hope we can start off your wonderful Christmas holiday week the right way. I am Justin LaBar, alongside the man who makes the show run every single day, Raj Giri, and a special guest we're happy to have on the panel tonight. For more than 20 years, former sports entertainment referee, the one, the only, Jimmy Korderas. Jimmy, how are you?
I am doing fantastic and so glad to be joining both you guys. But Justin, it's been so long, man. It's really great to see you again.
It's great to see you. It's like a great join to my world. It's like, Jimmy, I feel like years ago, you and I got to speak every single week on a microphone. Now I'm with Raj every single week, so we get to merge it all together. We got referee, longtime Wrestling Inc. Journalist and website owner, and Raj. This is gonna be a fun mix tonight.
Yeah, we'll see if we can coexist.
Exactly. Oh my goodness! You said the dirty C word.
The dirty C word, as Big E so eloquently put it, as we'll get into. So we got 3 hours of Monday Night Raw tonight, which we'll talk about as they are on the quick path to day one. That's right, on New Year's Day, January 1 on Saturday. They're going to do their first ever, right, guys? They've never done a pay-per-view ever on New Year's, ever, right?
Not that I recall ever doing one on New Year's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've missed a lot of holidays over the years, but at the same time, I can't recall them ever being done on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I can't recall either. I think didn't WCW do something at like a Kiss concert on New Year's once?
I feel like in the dying years, yes, they did.
Yeah, like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe
somewhere
Demon wrestled or
Demon, absolutely. Dale Torborg was headlining that one.
It does sound familiar. It really does.
But never a pay-per-view on New Year's Day. And I think people hear New Year's and think, oh, big holiday, but really New Year's Eve is the holiday. New Year's Day is kind of recovery and
exactly what I said. We're on the same page right there. And also it's like football day. So it's kind of maybe a little challenging to put it out there on New Year's Day because there is a lot of football going on.
Yeah, you're right. There's going to be football. It's going to be, the NFL schedule has been extended this year, so it's going to be down to the wire, regular season games. Yeah, you're right. It's a Saturday. Obviously, AEW's kind of led the way with this, and WWE's now starting to adopt, which I think is a great move. I think Saturday for pay-per-views, you don't have to worry about getting home the next day for work or for school and, stay up later as these shows go longer. So it'll be a lot of interesting experiments to look at with day one of how does it perform in terms of being something brand new. Are people in recovery mode wanting to watch this? Or are people in recovery mode wanting to pass out? So a lot of things that we'll be looking at. Of course, Raj, we'll have a post-day one podcast, right?
Yeah. We'll piece that together. But yeah, for sure. And the one thing with day one is because, now WWE, their pay-per-view money is guaranteed with Peacock. So this is the way for them to make that additional money is doing these markets where they can sell more tickets. And the ticket sales are more important now for these pay-per-views than, Peacock subscriptions because they don't get any extra added revenue out of that.
Sure. What city are they in for day one?
Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah. Market there. All right. Well, we'll see about that. Of course.
And the tickets are doing really well. So
are they? Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they're close to 10,000,
right.
Which is, I think, what it's set up for. So I think they're just either shy of a sellout or they'll be hitting a sellout pretty quickly.
Well, we'll certainly take a look at all the big stories that are going into day one. Before we do that, let's take a look at some news. We got 3 news items, a couple on the viewership numbers, and we got one big one about a Texas rattlesnake. We'll save that one for last. Raj, I'm going to toss to you for the first one because you tweeted the numbers even before Wrestling Inc. had got the official story up. But tell us about SmackDown's viewership this past Friday.
Yeah, so SmackDown, they did 2.303 million viewers, 2.3 million. The best since September 10th, as far as the audience goes. And also they did a 0.52 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. That wasn't as impressive. It was their best rating in the demo this month, but not since late November. So a really good audience. The demo is still, it's still good, but it was number one for the night on network TV. They didn't have as much competition. There was an NBA game on cable, but on network TV, there wasn't much. Most of the shows were in rerun. So that would explain partially why SmackDown and Rampage were both up some this week. But a really good number for SmackDown. This is kind of the time of year when wrestling, you see a decrease with football season heating up, and you're kind of really in the thick of football season. Raw is just getting killed by Monday Night Football because this is really when the season gets interesting, or the most interesting. So SmackDown doing really well, with especially considering that. And then Rampage was way up as well. They did 571,000 viewers on TNT, up 13.5% from last week. And then the 18 to 49 demo, it did a 0.3, which was one of their best ratings in like a month and a half, I believe. It's the best viewership since November 5th. Oh, and the best key demo rating since October 29th. So yeah, about a month and a half. So the numbers were up for both shows. And it was, I thought SmackDown, they ended with a hot angle with Roman and Brock, which I thought was just great. Rampage, I always find it to be an easy 1 hour show to watch, although it wasn't really a stacked marquee show as far as like big matchups or anything. So you got to consider that to be a really good number, considering there wasn't a really super hype match or segment on there.
Going back to SmackDown, Jimmy, now it's become, if you're getting over 2 million right now for WWE's weekly shows, I mean, that's the bar you're trying to clear. Once upon a time it was 4 million. Then it was 3 million, and now, just by the way of the world and it's 2 million. Did you ever think, as a longtime blue brand referee, that SmackDown would be the A show for all the years that it was the taped kind of? Vince didn't even show up to it sometimes, and now it is the show.
As like you said, a guy who still owns a few of those blue SmackDown ref shirts, it is. A lot of people don't realize, as much as WWE, yes, we were a one company, but at the same time, there was that in-house friendly rivalry between Raw and SmackDown. It legitimately existed. We wanted to be, we wanted to beat them, and they wanted to beat us badly. The only difference was our show was taped, so therefore, the spoilers got out there and that sort of thing, and we kept, our excuse was all the time, if we were live, we'd kick your butts. And, you guys would never be, but for me, from a personal standpoint, a pleasure to see them doing well, pleasure to see Rampage numbers back up, pleasure to see the business as a whole starting to pick up a little bit, because contrary to popular opinion, as I like to tell people out there, people who seem to think that I like to shill for my former employer. No, I shill for wrestling. All of sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. I don't have an issue with the term sports entertainment, because I like it all. I want it all to succeed, because if it succeeds, then everybody in the business succeeds. And I love this business still to this day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And SmackDown going strong. I mean, right now the December numbers are up. They're looking like they're going to be up from last year. And, last year, obviously, they were in the Thunderdome, but still, year to year to be up. And again, I'm just doing summary. They're down in 1849, but up in total viewers. That's an impressive feat, especially with all the sports you got going on right now with the live crowds. Sports are hot again. The NFL is the hottest it's been in a while. So, it's good. And I got to think that it's going to go up even more once football season ends.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason why it's working is you see it in the numbers, but at the same time, I think it is having its effect on Raw as well, because if you've seen in the last few weeks of Raw, and we'll probably get to this a little bit later on as we're talking about Raw seems to have adapted a little bit of that formula from SmackDown as far as presenting a lot of in-ring matches and not so many vignettes and backstage and a lot of talking and so forth. Yes, we did have the talking segments, but at the same time, they are taking a little cues from SmackDown, I think, and it seems to be helping their presentation on Monday nights.
Well, and of course, SmackDown has the major advantage of 2 hours. I think we all agree. The more traditional, proper weekly show time allotment versus having to try to do 3 hours every single week. So certainly SmackDown with the edge there. And another news story to touch on, again, you can read all of this on WrestlingInc.com and many more, but we're just kind of giving you the snapshot of what's going on in the headlines. WrestleMania 38 coming up this spring. It's going to be back in Dallas, Texas, and you can't have a WrestleMania in Texas without the Texas rattlesnake. That's right. A very credible Twitter account, WrestleVotes, putting out a tweet earlier today talking about how he's hearing from sources that WWE officials are very interested in having Stone Cold Steve Austin be part of WrestleMania 38, but not just as as the PR appearance, but having them be more involved somewhere critically into a storyline or a match presentation somehow. Not having a match, but of course just being involved some way in building up. I mean, Raj, just can't really be too much of a surprise. I mean, last time they were in Dallas, Austin had a great segment. He and I think it was Sean and Mick out there with the New Day and the those Barretts and Sheamus's for what was our group? The Axis Ally, the Axis of Evil or something. Yeah. The United Nations of Evil is whatever they were. Yeah. So you got to, it's kind of like automatic. You can't have WrestleMania in Texas without Stone Cold, but hey, this is awesome to hear that they're, going to, I guess, make a pitch to see if they can get him more thoroughly involved. He's my favorite of all time. I got into a big thing about this with Mark Henry and Dave LaGreco on Busted Open last Friday. Cheap plug. Don't even build around Mount Rushmore if you can't have Austin up there. Raj, your gut feeling, you're deep in the news trenches all the time. You have your sources. Your feeling, your rumblings of what you think is going to come out here.
I mean, I thought it was just a given ever since they announced that it was going to be in Dallas. I don't see how you don't have Steve Austin there. I mean, it's Dallas, it's Texas. You got Austin. He's already doing the promos for it. League of Nations.
Thank you.
Just like Undertaker in the Hall of Fame, it just seems to me like that's a no-brainer, being the headliner this next year. So, I mean, as for what he does, I could see him doing something like what The Rock did. That was at the WrestleMania in Dallas as well.
He came out and he shot the
right, yeah, and he beat Rowan in 6 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
So I could see Austin doing something similar to what he did, like very limited physicality, but doing a segment. And anytime you see Stone Cold, you can't beat that.
Jimmy, Stone Cold, WrestleMania. I mean, in Texas, you can't avoid it, right?
Yeah, you can't avoid it. The hamster's on the wheel for me, and not to spar with LaBar. There's a cheap plug for you, but I'm an Undertaker guy. Nothing against Stone Cold, as you can tell. Nothing against Stone Cold, but I am an Undertaker guy, and it would be nice to see him as well, but you don't want one to upstage the other, if you know what I mean. But having Stone Cold there has got my wheels turning, and I'm thinking, going into day one, we're going to see Brock versus Roman Reigns, and I think that's not the last time we're going to see these two together. I think it's going to culminate at WrestleMania, and what better way to have this rivalry conclude with a special guest referee, none other than the rattlesnake Stone Cold Ref.
Yeah, I thought I could. Yeah, that would be cool. I was thinking maybe they have him host. They like doing the hosting gimmick. But WrestleMania is 2 nights. So what if they did one night with Austin, and then the other night, typically with the Hall of Fame, when they have a megastar like with Ultimate Warrior when he got inducted, the following night on Raw he did a speech. What if they had the Undertaker one night finally get to do his kind of a acceptance, Hall of Fame acceptance / kind of a farewell speech in front of the crowd? Because he did at the Survivor Series in the Thunderdome, never got to do it in front of a crowd. WrestleMania, it's 2 nights anyway. You can spare the time, have Undertaker doing a farewell.
Well, I mean, I'm all for, you're right, Raj, 2 nights. I'm all for separating the star power of if in fact Taker is the headliner for Hall of Fame, which he should be. I'm all for separating it. But I mean, I think part of, Hall of Fame is still an event where they're still selling tickets. They're still trying to get viewership. So I still think the attraction there has to be him giving his speech there. That's not to say, though, he can't, they always bring out the Hall of Famers at Mania. That's not to say he can't come out and get that standing ovation from a stadium packed, and then have whatever salute by. But I think you still got to give the speech in earnest at the actual ceremony to keep the credibility of that ceremony up.
The odd thing is it's not on the books right now. Like for what they have planned that week, as far as booking arenas and everything, they got the 2 nights of WrestleMania. You got SmackDown on Friday, you got Raw that Monday, but they don't have. They have not mentioned the Hall of Fame, at least as of yet.
Well, here's an interesting idea. Then I mean, they really went heavy on classes the last 2 years because obviously they got messed up in 2020 with the pandemic. What if the only guy to be the only person inducted in a particular year's class is the Undertaker. There's no other character that Vince would give that honor to than Undertaker, that you are the only one that gets to be in the Hall of Fame this year.
That's an amazing idea, to have him as the only inductee for this year, because he was the locker room leader. And as everybody will tell you, it wasn't that he appointed himself the locker room leader. The entire locker room appointed him our leader. He was the chosen one as far as the boys go. So if there's anybody, I mean, you can make an argument for a lot of guys like a Ric Flair or somebody like that. But if there's one guy right now who can be inducted into the Hall of Fame on a solo basis, as a standalone, as the guy, as the headliner, Taker is the guy.
He would be the first one since the first one, right? Wasn't Andre solo? And then the following year is when they started adding other people.
96, I remember they did a big 96, they did a Hall of Fame class that had several people, but they did it before Survivor Series in New York City. But yeah, I think you might be right. I think in 95, Andre was the first one to go in, and he was the only. So again, what a class to be in of history, again, in WWE history, of Andre being the only one going in 95, and then 20. I mean,
the only thing I would say with that is that in previous years they've had a hard time selling tickets for the Hall of Fame, whereas the Undertaker, you could probably sell tickets for that one. Well, so if you are going to do it at in front of fans, that would be the one. So I mean, you could do it in front of fans, and he's the only one. That's, I don't know if you're gonna. I don't know.
It all depends. Again, not to try and mesh too many things together, but you can either do it as a elongated segment on the SmackDown, the live SmackDown on before the first night, or you can do it on the first night.
Yeah, Raj, my idea that spawned to just have him be the only one in the class came from you saying if they don't have a night or arena booked, so therefore if there's actually not going to be one dedicated Hall of Fame ceremony and they can just mesh it in, like Jimmy just said, either with SmackDown or with one of the nights for Mania, that's the way to do it. Just make it its own 30-minute part of the show. Yeah. I don't even know if you need somebody to come out and make a speech to induct him. I just think you can just let the gong go, let him come out, give him as much time as he wants to speak.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. And to Jimmy's point, or to Jimmy's suggestion with Austin as a ref, I mean, that would get him more involved. I think what WrestleVotes was kind of alluding to is I think they want to do more than just the kind of generic, come out and host, welcome everybody. That wouldn't really be Austin's style. I think a ref, though, and God, look at the history. I mean, last time Austin was a ref, it was a Brock Lesnar match at a WrestleMania. So
if they do Brock and Roman and Austin as a ref, that's a lot of star power in there. And but I can't see Austin laying out Roman or Brock. I don't think Vince would want that yet. But I mean, I don't know.
Gets the wheels spinning.
Right? Yeah.
Jax Callens 420 saying, "Much love, guys. LaBar's shirt is on fire." Hi, Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, let's do it together. Let's light them up together. Here we go.
Here we go. Hold on. Got to find my switch.
3, 2, 1.
I jumped.
You jumped.
I jumped.
There we go.
Nice.
There we go. Got to pay the electric bill for the
Christmas episode.
See, Austin 316 says, "Merry Christmas, brother."
Well, Jimmy's got his Austin 316 sweater. I got my Hot Rod Rowdy Piper sweater. And then Raj, he's rocking the Manscaped. And of course he is, because Raj is the businessman here, because we're happy to celebrate our wonderful friends at Manscaped, who have been great supporters of Wrestling Inc. and of this podcast. And I'm here to tell you about more Manscaped. That's right. We are coming up on New Year's. That's right, New Year's. And we're happy to celebrate as we ring in the new year our favorite producers of ball trimmers, and that is Manscaped. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming are leaving 2021 with a new product. Clean yourself into the new year with their ultra-premium body wash. I've tried this, fellas. It's great. It's a wonderful product. It has that great, wonderful Manscaped confidence scent. Love it. Just got it. It's a wonderful product. And again, as always, because you are being here as a loyal Wrestling Inc. Viewer, by using the code WINC20, you can get free shipping plus save 20%. That's right, save 20% and free shipping if you go to manscaped.com. Take a look at all the products. They have the new body wash, as I talked about, and many more. Trust the 4 million men who have already put their faith into Manscaped 2022 on its way. The last thing you want to be is the guy with the, just not taking care of yourself. Who knows if you're going to get lucky on New Year's Eve? Who knows if you're going to get lucky on New Year's Day? Who knows if 2022 is just another wonderful year you're celebrating with your significant other? No matter what, laziness is not accepted, fellas. Not accepted. And so 2021, they are going to make sure you take that out. You ring in 2022, the new year, the right way. They have their new signature lawnmower 4.0, and it will take down every pube in its path. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's even waterproof. Plus, this tool is amazing and has the wonderful LED light, so you make sure you got plenty of light for whatever project you're trying to take care of. The Manscaped products, they're there for you. Waterproof, makes it well for the shower time. Again, Raj, I know you've been a fan and a user of Manscaped a long time. I got turned on to it, and I'll say this: whether you need a gift for yourself, it's always good to buy for yourself. Whether you're looking for a gift for your fellow man, a nice little stocking stuffer, or ladies, if you're trying to find that right gift for your man, hint, hint, wink, wink at him, Manscaped is what you do. Raj, what's your favorite Manscaped product?
Oh man, I use them all. I mean, you got the ear and nose trimmer, you got the obviously the lawnmower. I've been using the body wash every day. The shampoo and conditioner. And I'm traveling on Wednesday.
The cologne is nice.
The cologne is nice, and I'm traveling on Wednesday. They got the travel case with the nail file and the nail clippers and everything. Mm-hmm. So I use it all. And I'm telling you, if you just one day you try it out, just do everything. You feel like a new man when you're done. You just feel refreshed, clean, perfectly groomed. It's a great product.
It really is. And again, whether it's the body wash, whether it is the lawnmower and what's getting the actual manscaping done, whether it's the comfortable t-shirt that Raj has on, they even have a boxer briefs, very comfortable, shaving kit. I mean, they really think of everything that the man, whether you're a man on the go or you're a man, living your 9-to-5 life, whatever your needs or goals are, they will meet them. And it's a quality product. It really is a quality product. Hence why they continue to grow. Hence why they continue to stick around and be great supporters of this podcast. And while we continue to promote them, and they're getting more business because people are finding out this is not just I'm going to try it once and no, you try it out, you will become a regular user because you're going to realize I'm not finding anything better to accomplish what I need to accomplish out on the market. So again, go to manscaped.com, look around, take a look, see what you need. I've told you about some of the products. If you want more information, tweet me, tweet at Manscaped, what have you, but go to manscaped.com and whatever you decide to purchase, use the code WINC20 and you're going to save 20% and you're going to get free shipping. And this time and right now with craziness with shipping and everything like that, don't have to worry about paying any fees. Free shipping and saving 20% on the purchase of the order using the code WINC20. And we thank Manscaped very much for the support of this podcast and for what's been a wonderful 2021 and hopefully continues into a wonderful 2022.
Real quick before we move to Raw, we were talking about the Undertaker. Jimmy, I know you've been close with the Undertaker for so long. You've refereed the Undertaker's matches at WrestleMania. Do you have any stories that you could relate on this podcast tonight?
Oh, we're my goodness. Well, I think I don't know if I've told this on the podcast here or on Wrestling Inc., but the match I did referee at WrestleMania 24 between Undertaker and Edge, I was not originally scheduled for. Edge and Taker decided that they requested me for that match. So I even remember the city I was in. I come into the locker room for SmackDown. It was like maybe 2 weeks before or whatever the case may be. And I run into Edge and, hey, Edge, how's it going? Hey, Jimmy, what's up? Can I talk to you for a minute? I said, yeah, absolutely. What's up? He says, Taker and I have been talking. We want you to referee our match at WrestleMania. I said, pardon me? He said, and I wasn't going to say, can you guys get it done? It's Taker and Edge. I mean, right. They said, yeah, come with me. Come talk to Taker. So, he took me over. We talked to Taker and he says, yeah, we want you to be our guy. And I said, okay, I'll do my best not to let you down. He says, we know you won't. And when he said that, now the pressure's on. Now I'm thinking, I better not screw this up. But I will tell you, there are very few, as much as I loved refereeing all these great superstars I've been blessed with working with over the years, at the end of that match at WrestleMania, I was never more emotionally drained to the point where, hey, I'm going to tell you, I was in tears afterwards. That's how much it meant to me. And then, traditionally after the match, you go thank the talent, you thank Edge, and big, and I went to thank Taker, and I just broke down. And he says, I feel you, my friend. Thank you so much. And it just meant the world to me.
Yeah. If you never have, if you enjoy just that little snapshot, get Jimmy's book.
Oh.
It is an anchor piece on my bookshelf back here, the 3 Count. Wonderful book, forward by Edge, in fact, but get Jimmy's book. Tells that story and more. Get it.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that went on the buses and stuff like that, but we'll just leave it on
there. Well, we'll be having you on a lot, so definitely we'll get more and more stories.
All right, let's get into the stories being told tonight. Monday Night Raw, coming to you live from Milwaukee, as we again are on the road to day one, as we talked about. And we start out with MVP and Bobby Lashley, the Almighty, as they're coming to the ring. And MVP talking about the Herculean task, the performance that Bobby Lashley had the week prior when he beat not 1, not 2, but 3 men in one single night, earning his way now to this world title match at day one. It's going to be a fatal 4-way. And then they're interrupted by Big E, and Big E says he's surprised. He's surprised that Bobby Lashley and all of his strength and impressiveness, that he needs help from an MVP, that he would let an MVP get in the way the way he did the week prior. And then Lashley starts to kind of looks like toss his guy under the bus. Well, MVP can take you, Big E. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and do this right now. So MVP, to his surprise, is getting ready to square off with Big E. But before that can happen, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins jump the barricade and attack Bobby Lashley. So this kind of setting up what's going to be our main event later in the night, which is going to be Seth Rollins and KO versus Lashley and Big E. Jimmy, this is it looks like, based upon the crowd reaction, based upon what we see here, we'll get to the main event later. Feels like we're seeing the turn of Bobby Lashley.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking while I was watching this. I'm going, boy, the seeds are being planted, and I wasn't sure and I still am not sure, is this just a test to see how the crowd reacts? And that's the beauty of having a live crowd there, is you could feed off that instant feedback. And the instant feedback I was getting from that Milwaukee crowd tonight was that they're liking Bobby Lashley. They're getting on board with this. And that makes me feel bad for Big E, because they seem to be, I don't want to say they're more on board with Bobby, but Bobby seems to be getting a little bit more of a reaction than a babyface Big E is right now. And I don't know if this is a bad situation. I don't want to say bad situation, but you know what I mean? Not a good sign for Big E going forward.
Yeah, I just felt like the last couple of weeks when you've had Lashley there, he just feels like the bigger deal. He feels like the biggest star in the show. Mm-hmm. With outside of maybe Edge, he's up there. And I just feel like the way they book Big E, they haven't really made him that special yet, and maybe it's going to take time, but Lashley, he's right there. And to me, and we'll get to it later, the end of the show, it felt like a baby face turn. So it's kind of been a while coming, and I think it's the right move.
Yeah, what kind of worries me here is I'm a huge Big E fan. I'm a fan of Bobby as well, but I'm a huge Big E fan. I'm happy to see that he's world champion, and I want to see his run gets just due. And what I don't like is they had a real chance here. I'm fine with adding Bobby Lashley to this match and making a fatal 4-way, but what I would prefer is Bobby Lashley as a heel with MVP still there, wielding a cane. So it really stacks the odds of 4 heels, essentially, that Big E has to combat with to retain his title to come out of day one still champion. I don't like them kind of starting to, put distance between MVP and Lashley's maybe on the babyface side of things. I don't like the evening of the odds, so to speak. I would much rather Big E be, again, having the taller task to beat these 3 heels in ring, and then one pesky manager outside. So yeah,
that was kind of what I didn't like about last week with Bobby I don't mind Bobby working his way into the match, but I don't think they needed that last match with him versus Big E, because he already beat the other two contenders that are in the match. That should have been enough to qualify him. He didn't have to pin the champion as well, which another thing we'll get into later. But anyway,
it seems like they're doing a lot of swerves lately. You think this could be a swerve and Lashley ends up turning at the end, turning back, or I don't know. Just turning on Big E and laying him out. I don't know, something like that.
It could very well be, but again, it all depends on the crowd reaction. If if it is a swerve, as you say, it looks like an apparent babyface turn for Bobby, and it turns out that it's not. You run the risk of the crowd still staying on board with Bobby, because crowds are reacting weird lately. Once they attach themselves to someone like a Becky Lynch, it's hard to get them away to think differently, at least.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned Becky. We'll get into the crowds with that here in just a little bit. Real quick, shout out to Pitbulls and MMA. My boyfriend loves his Manscaped. There we go.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Yeah, of course, again, if you guys have any, especially if you have a chat you want to guarantee you get in the conversation, please hit the super chat button, and we'll make sure we work you in as our fourth special guest panelist for that particular comment and topic. All right, moving on. We got Bianca Belair versus Dewdrop. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but they're going to have another match here. But all that said, it's a competitive match. This is kind of an antiquated statement given the fact that pay-per-views are no longer pay-per-views, but Jimmy, this kind of had a pay-per-view quality match. It's something you would say back in the 90s, meaning these two guys or these two girls went out and did what you would ask them to do if it's on a pay-per-view, if it's on a situation of we're trying to settle the feud. I thought these two had a wonderful match. At the end, though, Bianca's going to show off her strength again, hits that KOD for the win. People were on their feet. Phones were out. I mean, jaws were dropped, and this is all literal. I'm not using hyperbole, folks, if you're relying on us to give you the recount of what actually happened. This was a moment where the Milwaukee crowd was very much engaged. Bianca Belair, she's riding high. Jimmy, do you agree with Dewdrop, who still has that name, who's now a heel? She's getting competitive matches, but is not getting any wins.
I'm okay with that, because she's still getting over in the matches as a heel, and she's still very competitive. Yes, she hasn't had any major wins lately, but at the same time, someone like a Bianca Belair benefited hugely from pinning someone like Piper. I
call her Dewdrop.
I'm trying. Okay, Dewdrop. But like you said, it was a really good match, and it was a pay-per-view quality match, and we're starting to see more and more of those on television. I think that's going to help maybe draw an audience back to TV, hopefully. I think that's the idea behind it, because yes, we want to see entertaining segments. We want to hear them talk. We want to hear a lot of different things and see vignettes and that sort of thing. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it says pro wrestling on the marquee, and people get in. When you have a good match that tells a good story like this one did, people get invested.
Yeah, Bianca and Piper, they work really well together.
Piper?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's probably why she's Dewdrop. But
damn it, you can't have another Piper.
You can't have another Piper. What happens to Austin Theory if Stone Cold is at WrestleMania?
Just Theory.
Just Theory.
That's what I tweeted earlier. Just Theory.
Or just Cold. They change Austin's name. They work really well together. The problems I have, 3 weeks in a row, same match. Bianca's won each time. They didn't do any real. You could do other angles and stuff, backstage segments. You don't have to just wrestle every week. I'm hoping this is the end of the feud. I think they said this was the final match, because when you've beaten someone twice, it's just silly to keep it going. So, and kind of to Jimmy's point, I think Dewdrop has gotten over in this feud, even though she's lost each time. I feel like now she can go on, maybe someone like Dana Brooke, where she can win easily, or, someone like that, someone else where she can win a feud easily and kind of keep that ascension going. But, I think Bianca needed this. She'd been coming off of just losing a lot in that Becky feud. And so, yeah, I think this helped her.
Yeah. I mean, it's always easier to get the job done as a heel versus a face, in my opinion. So, I mean, I'm happy to see them, the Dewdrop Eva Marie stuff just didn't really flesh out the way they wanted. Obviously, even Maryse no longer with the company. So, I mean, I like this heel Dewdrop. I still think it's ridiculous. I think you have to swallow your pride and say, okay, Dewdrop is going to be fun. Spirit Fingers, the girl who's getting bullied by Eva Marie, she's going to fight back. Okay, we're beyond that. If you're going to have her be, the bigger imposing physical presence, compared to most of the ladies, which is fine, and have her be a heel, that's fine. But the name just doesn't match. You've changed the music. She's even changed her look. You're just coming out with the jacket, what have you. Change the name. So if that means she needs to go away for a couple of weeks and come back rebirthed and repackaged around Rumble time, what have you, but the Dewdrop name just does not fit everything else that is starting to work. And again, to Jimmy's point, is getting over. It is connected. The crowd is getting, she's getting heat, but Dewdrop.
Yeah. It just goes to show you how one simple thing like a name can just kind of not put a halt, but stifle a little bit someone's progress, at least in the eyes of the audience or in the ears of the audience by hearing that name.
So, Jimmy, you're Jimmy Korderas by birth. Yes. You're Greek.
Actually, no. By
no?
birth, here we go.
Oh, boy.
Disclaimer, legally born Demetrius.
Oh, I did know that.
Of Greek descent, yes.
But Korderas is your last name.
Yes.
You were in an age where it was beautiful. I used to be able to name every referee. I was Jimmy Korderas, Jack Doe, Mike Chioda, Earl Hebner, Tim White. It was a beautiful time. You knew all the referees. Now we don't even get it. Now it's just the official. But was there ever an instance anywhere in time where Vince or the office or anybody was ever thinking of giving you a different, like, we're going to identify you as a different name, as a different stage name if we're going to identify you, or was you always Korderas?
No, I was always Korderas. Then the last name got mispronounced several times by different people. Korderas. Hunter just decided we're going to go with Corduroy. It's easier. It's easier to remember. So that was my nickname from Hunter for a long time, Corduroy.
Corduroy, I love it.
Korderas isn't that hard.
To me, it doesn't feel hard. Actually, I think it's easy for a Greek last name. Yeah. It's not Papadopoulos or something like this.
Look, you can't have an easier Indian name than Raj, and you don't know how many people mess that up. So.
Mike, I see you have a super chat. I will get to it. I'm not missing you. I'm just going to save it to be timely and try to keep the show moving. So hang on to it. We'll get to you in a second. Up next, sticking with the program, Finn Balor versus Austin Theory. They show the history that these two guys are having. Austin Theory, of course, he is just trying to appease Mr. McMahon, who has a special interest in him. But Austin Theory has he's got to do the right things. He's got to understand the lessons being taught to him by Mr. McMahon. Again, we're going to see a match here. Again, if you use this podcast, as many of you do, as kind of your barometer of what do I need to go back and check out. I don't want to sit through the whole 3 hours, give me the highlights. Again, a match between two guys in phenomenal shape. Austin Theory does something. He does a springboard Spanish fly. He does a springboard, rolls into the ring, does a drop kick, does some phenomenal things. No pun intended to AJ. Competitive match again here. Finn Balor's going to get the win, though. He's going to hit the coup de grace. He takes advantage of Austin Theory trying to do the selfie, rolls him up. So Finn gets the win, and I'll just kind of go ahead and jump ahead because it fits later. Austin Theory is going to later attack Finn backstage, trying to get his leverage back in the situation, and then goes to Vince's office, Mr. McMahon's office, excuse me. And Mr. McMahon still not impressed. He said, you lost the match. Mm-hmm. You lost the match. Maybe I should just fire you. I get great joy out of firing people around the holidays. Threatens him with firing Jimmy. He's going to give him a rematch next week, but reminds him about the power of the eraser and the pencil and how we can quickly erase. There's so much meta here. You obviously know Vince. I'm obligated to toss to you first on this. What do you make of what they are trying to do with Austin Theory and the relationship with Mr. McMahon, who, remind everybody, is not on TV that often anymore? So this is unique.
See, that is the uniqueness about this. And like you said, Vince has not, or Mr. McMahon has not been on television for a long time. And for him to, for those who don't know, he does a lot of work behind the scenes. He's a busy man all day long. And for him to take time out of that now to also be an on-screen character, the old Mr. McMahon character, which by all means, I enjoy it. I get a kick out of watching the Mr. McMahon character. I don't know how well it's going to play with that line about him liking to fire people on the holidays. That's going to probably hit some people the wrong way. But at the same time, it speaks volumes for what he thinks of Austin Theory, because for him to invest his time, I'm saying it, his valuable time to be an on-screen character again to help progress this character along of Austin Theory, it speaks volumes for what they think of him. They see something in him that I think they're going to capitalize in the near future.
Raj, the line that Vince also used was, "I didn't get to become a ruthless billionaire by making bad investments. Go out there and prove to me I'm not making another bad investment."
I thought it was more. I cannot understand anything Vince says anymore. It is like so difficult for me.
He is very gravelly. His voice is very gravelly.
It gets more gravelly by the week. It's like when Kane used to have that voice box. It's just really tough to understand. And the segments, I think it's really giving Austin Theory the rub for sure. They're always awkward, I feel like. Just the way it's scripted, what they're saying, what Vince is saying, I should say. But I think, Austin lost to Finn Balor tonight, but I think he's probably going to get the win back at day one, or maybe sooner. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, they're finally pushing a young talent who looks like he could be in that main event mix, next year. So I think it was a good thing. And the match with Finn Balor, that's what he could use is guys like Finn that could really work, that could really up his game. And he looked like he belonged tonight in the ring.
Yeah, he does look like he belongs. He's 24 years old. So, I mean, certainly, while there's some other up-and-coming stars on Raw or SmackDown that are on the rise in their WWE careers, they are still in their 30s. And that's, this is, Father Time is the ultimate enemy here. So, yeah, he's a young guy. I mean, I guess I look back at history, though, there's not been the best of luck to those who Vince has tried to, in storyline, anoint. Obviously Drew McIntyre was once dubbed the chosen one. That particular time and run in his career didn't work out. He eventually did live up to all that potential and is now, which is great. Even before that, a guy who I loved, one Mr. Kennedy, it didn't quite get to pan out either for different reasons, but he was going to be anointed as the illegitimate son of Vince. But my point is, and there's a few other pockets of
there's
an insane pressure that then gets put on a character to succeed when the man himself is coming out and saying, "You're my next stud."
Yeah, especially someone like, I knew that Austin Theory was young, but I didn't realize he was just 24 years old, which is extremely young. And you mentioned stuff about the match that he had with Finn. Some of the impressive things he did. That's what do you call that Spanish fly? That's seated
springboard. Yeah, he springboarded to the second rope into the Spanish fly. Yeah,
and stuff like that. What impressed me more was not only that he did these phenomenal moves, but he didn't clump them all together. He spaced them out. He gave everything time. He gave him time to breathe. It's almost like he's grasping the concept of, listen, I could do this cool move, but I'm not going to do 7 of them in a row.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think there's a big rush nowadays for people to try and get too much stuff in. And whether it was him who understood that, the agent for the match, or whoever it is, good on him for taking his time. That's for sure.
Great point by Jimmy. Great point. So we'll keep our eyes. So rematch next week, supposedly, for Austin Theory and Finn Balor. So we'll see. What happens next Monday? Does it go into day one? Jimmy, you got a thought?
No, just because, again, here's the hamster on the wheel again, because you mentioned maybe this comes to a culmination at day one. Mm-hmm. Maybe next week he suffers another loss to Finn Balor. Here he is with Vince again. Vince is about to give him the old heave-ho, but he says, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you one last chance. At day one, you've got Finn Balor, and maybe there's a stipulation to the match, like a whatever kind of match it is. If you lose to Finn Balor, you will be fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, did they announce it for next week? They announced a bunch of matches for next week, which is really rare. Like, I can't remember the last time they announced this many matches for the next week's Raw. It was almost like Dynamite or Rampage, where they kind of run down the full card before.
I know Vince said, I'm going to give you a rematch. I thought he said next week.
That's what I remember hearing.
Yeah.
But then again, I've taken a lot of ref bumps over the years. So
you've been kicked by the Undertaker a time or two. So.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Austin Theory certainly one to watch if you're doing your who to watch in 2022. Who are you buying in on your stock? Certainly a lot to look at there as we go into 2022. And you look at Rumble, you look at Manias, you look at all Money in the Banks, you look at all the milestones that start to mark who's plans for the future. So he's one to keep an eye on. Up next, we got a Miz TV segment. He's bringing out AJ and Omos, and we did see Miz talking to Omos earlier backstage, and Miz proceeds to tell AJ how Omos really feels. Starting to talk about how, Omos, he doesn't need AJ, and AJ's just a hanger-on, and in fact, AJ's even jealous. It took AJ 15 years to get to WWE. Omos had WWE begging for him to sign a contract, some blurring of some real-life lines there. Really interesting stuff. Before Omos can speak himself, those damn Mysterios have to come hit the ring. Their music hits. It's now time for their tag match of the Mysterios versus AJ and Omos. And AJ's in the ring the entire time. When he goes to make his hot tag to Omos, Omos has no interest in getting in the ring and even tagging with him. This causes AJ to get rolled up. 1, 2, 3. AJ and Omos, or more AJ, just having some words. I think even calls Omos a piece of trash. That lights the fire under the big man. They come to brawls, and Omos is going to get the better of this. He's going to put AJ up for a huge gorilla press slam. And he says, the next time you'll see me, it'll be in a match. Doesn't specify a win, but in a match. Jimmy, this escalated quickly. I didn't quite we knew the turn eventually would happen between these two, a split, I should say. I did not expect it to happen before the new year.
I in my opinion, far too soon.
Okay.
Then again, I'm one of those people who likes a nice story to take its time and develop, and I would have liked to have seen AJ push those buttons a little bit more, and see Omos get even more agitated. And I'm not convinced that he's ready yet for that spot, that singles push spot yet. But then again, if there's anybody who can get him there, put him in the ring with an AJ, and AJ will make him look like $1 million.
Raj, too soon?
I definitely think it's too soon, unless next week they don't actually have a match. It leads to some kind of angle where AJ attacks Omos, or something happens. But I think a lot of people thought this could be like a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania match when they did the split, not just a throwaway match on Raw. So if it is indeed the blow off next week, I mean, these guys have been together like 9-10 months. They won the titles at WrestleMania. It should be a bigger deal. I mean, that's just bad storytelling to just end it on TV. It's kind of like the Miz and Morrison, where they were going to end it on TV and they never did that either. But I don't know. Well, we'll have to see what they do next week. But if that's it, I just think I thought tonight just seemed, again, I just thought it seemed forced, didn't seem natural. Omos's promo, he needs a manager he could use, and maybe we can get that super chat there in a sec. But it just didn't flow well, I thought.
So Mike, $2 super chat, says, hope MVP doesn't turn on Bobby, MVP and Omos, maybe. And so that's to your point, Raj. If he's not ready, if they don't want him to be the tag team anymore, they want him to be singles, feature. I mean, he is every bit of 7 foot and then some. But if he still needs a mouthpiece, an MVP, if Bobby's going to go face, I could totally buy MVP, the sports agent kind of feel that he is, always looking for the prime athlete, seeing prime dollars in an Omos. It's a good call, Mike.
Yeah, no, it's a very good idea. The only issue I have, again, is someone from a heel tag team turning on the heel, which AJ is clearly the heel in this one. And then all of a sudden aligning with another heel when it looks like it's a babyface turn. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought this was going to go to Rumble, and it was going to be the old fashioned, Omos ends up eliminating AJ or doesn't help AJ when AJ is expecting the help or what have you, and then we build to Mania. So this does, the fact that they came to physical blows tonight was nowhere on my bingo card for Raw tonight. Yes. But I will say I'm happy, even though Omos has gotten circus-like reactions. That's a compliment. Like people, when he's stepped in the ring and he's going toe-to-toe with some people, the crowd has risen because he is truly a sight to see. I'm glad they didn't say, okay, we got to ride that. He's got to be a babyface right now, because I truly think he's going to learn better by being by being the heel. And it's going to be a lot easier situation for him to be the heel with his size, and AJ can bump around, be the babyface. So, Jimmy, to your point, there's a little bit of awkwardness, but I think long term it's the better way to go. Let AJ be the face, let Omos be the heel, and him being a charismatic giant is way down the road after he's gotten many more reps in front of a live audience. Because that's the other thing. Yeah, the first half of his run with AJ, he didn't have the luxury of doing house shows and getting to sit there every night and watch AJ and listen to AJ and listen to crowds. It was in front of the Thunderdome screens, so he hasn't had the live reps in front of crowds that you would otherwise hope he has.
Mm-hmm. So, completely agree.
And I thought the crowd reaction at the end when Omos kind of started beating on AJ, they weren't really for him, and I don't know if it's just this crowd tonight. I know you can't always just judge from one crowd, but it definitely seemed like the crowd considers AJ the babyface in this. And I think the way it was executed, it was kind of sloppy. It just, again, the Miz is the cat, like Omos is confiding in the Miz and telling him this stuff.
It's that is weird, Raj, but I will say I did appreciate the fact that they could use the Miz's very, very well established talking segment to help elevating and further story, and it didn't have to be the Miz's story, because we know we're going to do that on the cutting edge later. So that was kind of nice that they stepped out of their lane and just used some common sense of, okay, we need a talking segment. Well, the Miz has one.
Sure, yeah. Or you could have done it with Edge, where he's talking to a babyface, and you know what I mean. Like then it's the heel instigating a babyface to turn on. I don't know. I just thought it was just awkward, but
yeah. No, for me, sorry to cut you off, Raj. It's just for me, it's weird because it wasn't clear who, we're seeing somebody turn, but we're not clear who is going to be the heel and who's going to be the babyface here. Like I was assuming that maybe Omos is going to be the babyface, and then you're saying looks like maybe AJ is going to be the babyface. And when it's not clear who is who, which side of the fence either guy is on, then I think it makes it confusing for the crowd too, and they don't know who to get on board with.
Yeah, and AJ is one of those guys. He's easy to turn babyface because he's one of those guys. He's like Randy Orton. You could turn him heel. Fans don't ever really hate Randy Orton. They always still kind of like him. AJ fans still, they respect him and they're happy to see him turn babyface. So I think that's more natural. I think you're going to be fighting the crowd otherwise.
And we talked age earlier. Austin Theory 24, Omos 27. So again, some of the young crop of guys still in the 20s. So keep an eye on Jimmy. Over your years, you've certainly, I'm sure, have encountered different big men. Guys that the companies looking at. Maybe even if they're not 7 foot, but guys who just have that look that you can't buy, that doesn't grow on trees. Turn heads in the airport, and they're maybe strapping the rocket on them a little quick. I'm sure you've reffed some matches. From a referee standpoint, what can you do without giving all the secrets of the trade? What can you do, or what are you trying to do in terms of watching for, potentially even communication, to try to help the match go smoother, help teach the big guy?
Well, again, it's not only the referee giving instruction. For TV, it's a lot better because you are wired in. Mm-hmm. So the agent is there, so you can always go to the agent and say, hey, look, if you see something you want me to relay to him, I will relay it to him. And again, I was fortunate enough to get to work with some great big men over the years. So there would be times where I would see a guy like, for example, like a Heidenreich. Yeah. Big guy, good look and stuff like that. And I just, every once in a while, look like I'm going over to admonish him. But as kind of like, hey, just slow down a little bit. Not so rushed. Take your time. Little things like that. Just little things. Because you don't want to throw too much at them. If you throw too much at them, it might throw them off. And now they start second guessing, and you could see that there may be some hesitation there, as opposed to, pausing and giving time for stuff to set in. So, little things, okay, now get on them. Don't, really get on them. Don't give them a chance, you know what I mean? So pace yourself, that sort of stuff, little things like that. But again, I was fortunate enough to have somebody in my ear as well and say, hey, make sure he knows to do this. Tell him to do this. But
did you ever take advantage of the non-TV at the house shows where maybe you're not wired and you're not on time cues and you can maybe get away with being a little more freestyle of like saying to somebody, like giving them more of things just from you, not necessarily from backstage, but like you could just freestyle with them a little bit more? Did that ever work out for you, or?
No, I would for a lot of times I would let them do their thing, but at the same time, if I noticed something, I would pipe up, for lack of a better term, and that came later on in the years when you felt more comfortable.
Sure.
Giving your thoughts and your ideas, because we learn as well as we go. Always a sponge. You're always picking up stuff as you go along, and like I said, being blessed to work with some of the best big men around, including back to the days of Andre. I mean, wow.
And again, I know Jimmy has stories about Andre in the book. Fun Andre stories, drinking stories too.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Andre making you drink. I love that one.
Well, he didn't make me drink, but then again,
he made you. He's Andre the Giant. He made you drink.
No, let's put it this way: when he offered you a drink, you never said no. Let's just say that.
But before you got to go to work.
That was the only issue. I thought, okay, one I can get away with, but when I showed up to the building, thank goodness Jack Tunney was a nice guy and just said, "Hey, you know what? Go in my office, have a few coffees before the agents see you." And
you guys gotta get Jimmy's book. It's chock full of great stories. Sheed Black, $1.99. I think AJ is the babyface to me. Yeah.
All right.
We'll see how it plays out, but it's playing out quickly. So there we go. All right, Randy Orton. He's solo tonight. No Riddle. Orton up against Chad Gable, who does have Otis with him. Keep that in mind here for a second. This is a quick match, but it is an intense match, and it's kind of a blur. If you blink, you miss it. And that's not to say it's not a squash by any means. I mean, Chad Gable gets in there, and he's getting some on Randy, but Randy Orton does end up hitting the RKO on Gable, wins the match, and then post-match, Otis comes in, and Randy tries to hit an RKO several times on Otis, I think 3 times, and all 3 times Otis shrugs him off. Corey Graves, great soundbite on commentary. I didn't think there was a man on earth that couldn't be RKO'd. So this is like, really putting over Otis here. Raj, I mean, what did you make of it? I did not expect it. Again, on my bingo card, I did not expect Otis to be getting put over by Randy Orton tonight.
Yeah, it's almost like, because remember they were teasing Omos and Randy Orton for a while, and it seems like they've kind of shifted away from that. And that's too bad, because every time Orton and Omos would get in the ring, the fans would be like buzzing. Like you could tell, like they wanted to see that. Riddle wasn't there at all, right? There wasn't a backstage segment that I missed.
He was not there at all. All they said on commentary is as Randy's music hit that he's solo tonight. So.
Okay. Yeah, they're really giving Otis that monster push, that the big guy monster push that you see them do here and there a few times a year. We'll see how long it sustains. But yeah, Orton and Otis, they said next week, right?
Yes, I think so.
It's weird. You got a pay-per-view coming up in 2 weeks, and all these matches, I feel like they should be on the pay-per-view. They're doing on TV, like Toni Storm versus Charlotte this Friday on SmackDown. But yeah, Orton definitely, made him out to be a threat. Like this is another one, with all the build they've been giving Otis the last month or so. I hope it just doesn't end next week. Yeah.
And they didn't play to it. And why would they? He's a heel, but Otis, he is a Wisconsin boy, I believe. So if he is in his home state, he gets better treatment in his home state than other talents get oftentimes in WWE booking.
Yeah.
All right, so up next, this one's an interesting one to kind of break the X's and O's down to. Damian Priest, your U.S. champion, he's up against Dolph Ziggler, but the match is non-title. It is coined as a U.S. Championship contenders match. So basically, meaning if Ziggler can win, he would be deemed as number one contender. This match, I was even with that, which I don't like that. I'm never a fan of the champion having a match and his title's not on the line. I don't like that. But nonetheless, I was still intrigued because I got Damian Priest, who has phenomenal strikes with his punches and kicks. You have Dolph Ziggler, who's one of the best selling guys in the business ever. So we do get that. Robert Roode then attacks Priest on the apron, pulls his leg and what have you, and then all of a sudden that flicks the switch, and Damian Priest, He goes crazy, starts beating up on Rude. While that's happening, ref is counting him out. So, Jimmy, we're following the rules here. There's a count out. So, Ziggler gets the win. But obviously, it's now he maybe in theory is number one contender. Again, Priest goes nuts. I guess where I'm struggling at, Jimmy, and I go to the referee and you here is I still would have rather this match been a title match, up the ante and intrigue. Even with this finish, the title's not going to change hands. Why do we do this? Give me the answer.
I have no idea. I don't understand. This has become a thing lately with this championship contenders matches, which absolutely makes zero sense to me. You have to beat the champion in order to get a shot at the championship title that this person is carrying that you just beat. So in essence, you got to beat the champion twice to win the championship. That to me, that drives me insane. You work your way up to a title match and then, okay, we've seen non-title matches in the past for whatever reason, but you don't have non-title matches so that the person who beat you can get a title match.
That's like saying you go to the Super Bowl to beat the team, and then you get to go to the Super Bowl again.
Right.
Exactly.
If you beat the team, then you get to face them again the next week.
Right.
Right. There you go. I don't like that concept. And it's becoming very frequent now. And other little things, like, don't get me wrong, these guys work well together. The match looked good. And like you said, Justin, with the finish they had with the count-out finish, you could have had it a title match. The count-out finish, Dolph gets the win and earned himself a rematch anyway. Right. So that concept of championship contenders match just doesn't sit well with me.
No, it's like in UFC, if you fight the champion, it's the same exact thing. You got to beat the champion, and so you can face him the next time. It just doesn't make any sense. Right. And same thing with non-title matches. I mean, usually there should be a story for why a match is a non-title match. Either they haven't gotten enough wins, or there's some storyline reason why a match is non-title. But it's kind of a crutch. They've been doing it for so long that's just what they know. I feel like Damian Priest, he's lost some popularity with the crowd ever since he started doing the flipping out. I think they wanted to do, he's showing that he's got this killer instinct, but feels like fans are confused. And I just saw the crowd reaction lately to him, especially since Survivor Series when he did that with Nakamura. And it just feels like the crowd is just quiet for him now. Like this thing is kind of backfired. Yeah,
I agree. It was a natural, organic, maybe arguably, aside from the Roman Reigns and in terms of the guys in the middle of the card, Damian Priest has had the best 2021 of anybody. Mm-hmm. He has a good Rumble showing. He makes the Bad Bunny thing work, and Bad Bunny did great on his part, but did that. Priest has only lost one singles match, I think, on TV this year. It wins the U.S. title. Yeah, crowd's behind the Archer of Infamy. And then, they kind of do this little swerve of let's make him kind of Jekyll and Hyde, Harvey Two-Face. He flips the switch. Even there's this duality in his entrance of lights and whatever. But I agree, Raj. I think the fans are even kind of like, well, am I supposed to still cheer him when he's getting real cranked up like he does? I don't know. This might have been a don't fix what's not broken situation. He
had the cool entrance with the arrow and everything.
The arrow. I don't know. He's one again. He's on that list of I'm watching for 2022. He is a dark horse. Well, not dark horse, but he's on that second ring of people I'm watching for Rumble. I could say maybe if maybe he's a Rumble winner, and it all depends on who the champion is at that point. And do they need a face challenger or a heel challenger or whatever? But he's a guy I'm watching. But I agree. I think the fans are a little bit taken back by him. This flick of the switch of can you flip it in the next gear is not translating into babyface fandom.
Yeah. No, it's like I'm wearing the Stone Cold shirt. When Steve flipped, it wasn't like this. I'm going crazy, guy. It was just that the button was pushed and here came Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm. It was organic. It felt just right. It felt natural, not like. Oh, this is the spot where he's going to go crazy now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on. So, who knows what, obviously Damian Priest, Dolph Ziggler match for the title probably is in line, if not for Raw, then for day one. So we'll see what they're
Yeah, they announced that for next week too.
That is next week. Okay. Yeah. Raj, to your point, they're telling you what's coming. So is next Raw live or is it taped?
Yeah, it's right. It's live.
Okay.
So SmackDown this week is taped. The next SmackDown's like a recap show, but the next Raw's remaining live. There's no taped episodes coming up.
All right. I was going to say, maybe if they knew they were taping it, that's why they're just announcing all this stuff, because they know exactly what they're doing. There's not going to be any rewrites. But
that's exactly what I thought. I double checked because I'm like, oh, they must be announcing this because they're taping it tonight.
Yeah.
Or somebody just going, yeah, we could just announce it because as it says at the bottom, card subject to change.
Well, they're changing the day of. We'll see how many of these matches actually end up taking place.
There you go.
All right. Up next, we get another talking segment. Is the return of the Cutting Edge. Hall of Famers out there, and he has a special guest, Maryse. And of course, they show the recap package there of how he almost speared Maryse, and that's because Miz threw his wife and the mother of his children as a shield. So that of course caused problems between Maryse and Miz, or so we thought. Maryse is out there; she's venting her frustration to Edge. You have no idea what it's like to be married to the Miz, and I do everything. Everybody thinks I have everything all put together, but you don't know what it's like behind the scenes. Woe is me. Edge not buying it, says, you sound like you're in a horrible country song. I know this whole routine. Miz has sent you out here to boo-hoo, and he's going to sneak attack me. Just as that happens, music hits, and Miz tries to sneak attack Edge, but Edge is ready for it. He starts to beat down at the Miz, but then Maryse gets a nice slap in on Edge, and that gives the opening for Miz to hit the skull-crushing finale. Raj, they mentioned, and it should be noted, I'm giving the summary here. They mentioned, Maryse mentioned Beth Phoenix, Edge's real life wife. Mixed tags got to be coming down the pike, right?
Yeah, I actually thought they were going to do the swerve with Maryse turning, revealing she's been aligned with Miz at the Day One pay-per-view, leading to Miz beating Edge, and then that leads to the tag match at the Rumble with Beth Phoenix and Edge versus Miz and Maryse. I think Edge is one of the most talented talkers and performers they have. I think Maryse is fantastic on the mic, but I thought this segment was just death. I thought they went too long with Maryse talking about Miz at the beginning. You could tell the crowd they lost. They were just bored. They were like, you can hear them wanting it to end. And but I did like that Edge wasn't falling for it. He didn't get outsmarted. But outside of that, I just of the Edge Miz segments that they've had, I thought this was the weakest. Yeah,
Jimmy, I know you're, I know you don't want to speak ill of fellow Canadian or Canadians, but Maryse didn't seem so comfortable on them. This felt like she was a little scattered on the mic.
Yeah, I kind of felt that too. And going back again to Edge, when you talk about some of the most underrated people on the microphone, you got to put Edge in that category. People, when you talk about some of the best promo guys and some of the best talkers, we neglect to put him in that conversation. And he definitely belongs in that conversation. But it also depends on, like you said, Raj, the people and the people's reaction. They just weren't getting into that segment at all. They weren't getting invested in it. And Maryse, like you said, Justin, felt a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, okay, getting back into that groove again. You've been away from it for so long in front of that live crowd. Yes, you've been doing Miz and Mrs. for so long, but that's, a different atmosphere altogether. This is in front of a live crowd. And for me, you're right. I felt that she was a little bit uncomfortable and wasn't back in her form, because she can be, really, really annoying in a good way.
But to that point, I think it was also what she was given, because once the swerve happened, then she was back to seeming totally comfortable. Like she was back to the old Maryse. She just felt really uncomfortable with having to say the stuff with Miz and the problems they're having, and
Yeah. So to that point, Raj, I guess I was summarizing for brevity, but I guess maybe this is a time where I should get more detailed. So Maryse is talking about, she's the one that's taking care of the kids and this and that, and Miz is away doing Miz things, and she asked Edge, what if I would have got hurt? What if you would have speared me? Who would take care of my kids? She got really into some deep, heavy kind of like emotional stuff, and so to that point, maybe that truly did make her feel a little uncomfortable. That she's like, I'm not buying this. The crowd's not buying this. I have no problems with my husband to this level. We would not be airing it. I don't know. Maybe there was truly this is just a little bit too attempt of real for us to swallow here. I don't know.
Yeah, but I like Raj said, I do believe that down the road this is heading towards a mixed tag, and I think with Beth and Edge, and Rumble seems the obvious choice. I don't know if you can extend it to wait until WrestleMania. I think that might be way too long.
Well, and it can't be sooner than Rumble, right? It can't be day one. They only have one more Raw, so that would be too much. That'd be too much of a rush if Beth shows up next Monday, and that's what this is something you want to milk a little bit. And
they are doing AJ and Omos next week. So
that's why I'm thinking Maryse interferes at day one. Maybe there's the behind the ref's back if they could distract him correctly. The low blow or whatever the case may be into a Mrs. Finish or whatever the case may be, and then Beth loses it and shows up on Raw and goes, you don't attack my man,
right? Because that match has been announced for day one. I mean, that's official. So,
Jimmy, Christmas is upon us. Mm-hmm. Lots of good food, lots of good presents. If I want to steal one of your hors d'oeuvres or one of your presents, what's the best way that I can distract you?
Best way you can distract me?
Or do I just have to bump you? Do I have to? Is that ref bump is going to have to be it, or can I distract in some other way?
No, you can distract me with other food. Food is a big distraction for me, or that works.
Very good. All right, up next, Rhea Ripley versus Queen Zelina. This is and Carmella and Nikki ASH are both banned from ringside. Rhea, dominant one-sided win here. Raj, what do you think?
It seemed weird to just have Zelina beat her last week just to get dominated, destroyed this week. Zelina, she'd been on quite the win streak, actually. She hadn't lost a singles match since September. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's just 50-50. I don't think any of them are really getting that over right now. I think Rhea, they just don't know how to book her. Queen Zelina, I think she's a great character. But I feel like they're hitting a roadblock as far as what to do with that character.
Jimmy, if I asked you, or if you're in the position, if you're there backstage, because I agree with what Raj said, what advice can be offered to Rhea, or maybe not even Rhea, maybe it's to the booking, to the creative? What needs to happen with Rhea Ripley right now?
She needs to be booked like not quite like Brock Lesnar, like a beast, but she needs to be very dominant. And obviously she can give some offense to her opponents that they could try and get in on her, but at the same time I think she needs to be built like not invincible, but like and I hate to say this about her, a beast.
She should have had at least a Damian Priest run where she's not getting beat at all.
Right and and not be on the receiving end of so much. Yeah. Not selling so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And her song and everything, you would just feel like she's like this violent figure. And then she's palling around with, someone dressed like a superhero. It just feel like it kind of goes against what the character is. I don't know.
And I know there's always, they say, you can always reinvent the character and blah, blah, blah. But I'm also worried in today's world is there a point where you take it to where there's no coming back from it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's what I'm worried about.
And Jimmy, that's a great, that comment segues to exactly what I was going to say is I appreciate the fact that Rhea Ripley, I mean, she's a presence physically in terms of, she's at least 6'1", so she's, taller than most any other girl, and the haircut and the tattoos and the piercing, whatever. I mean, I appreciate the distinct look, but also, I mean, it's the day and age we all have the internet and social media. It's very much out there what she looked like when she arrived in the WWE system, and she was, I think she's Australian. She had the more stereotypical long blonde hair kind of model look. And so credit to her, I guess, on trying to stand out and distinguish herself. But also to that, it also now with what we're seeing feels like, is this all very manufactured, forced? Like, Is this who you are? Are you, like Raj said, are you the one that with this violent theme of this is my brutality when you're smiling, hanging out with a lovable character who wants to be a superhero? I don't know. There definitely feels like there's a disconnect, and we've, she's had a Mania match against Charlotte. And I mean, she's had some opportunity, but there feels like there is a disconnect, that this is not necessarily the real Rhea Ripley, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I totally see that. I totally see that. And really quickly, just not to draw the total comparison, but your guy, Stone Cold Steve Austin, when did he truly get over? When he became Steve.
Yeah.
He turned up to 12, as they like to say. It seems to be the magic formula, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
You were seeing her in NXT. You're seeing more of the true character of what she was trying to be, or what she is. And with the Raw scripting and everything, it's just completely missing it.
Yeah. Again, hyping up 2022. We'll watch and see what is on deck for what she's doing here in the first quarter with Rumble and Mania lined up. Sticking with the women's division, we get Liv Morgan. She's out to the ring, and she shows footage that aired on social media this past weekend, and now they show it in full. Again, she shows up to the training school that Becky Lynch has, ready to attack Becky Lynch. She's ready to attack this red hair woman in the ring who she thinks is Becky Lynch, only it's not Becky Lynch. Becky was one step ahead of her. Becky then gets into a fight with her and what have you. Becky then now shows up live here in Milwaukee, has a little bit of a war of words, and they try to paint the picture verbally that Becky is big time Bex. Liv is not ready for the pressure under these hot lights. But Becky's like, well, but still, you're not ready, but I'm not giving you the time of day, and walks off. And that maybe Becky's actually intimidated by Liv. There's a lot that's going on here, but gentlemen, I don't know who wants to start here. Liv Morgan's supposed to be this up and coming like organic babyface, but she's trying to sneak attack at the school. Everything that was kind of delivered in the promo here seemed ass backwards.
She's attacking this girl in the school without checking who it is.
Right. I'm like, Raj,
all
who's
these people around the ring
face?
not doing anything.
Who's the face?
Students.
Who's the face?
God, that segment was awful. It's this year is the 25th anniversary of the NWO. And so there's a lot of, stuff on podcasts looking back at the NWO stuff. And you look back at when they would do those type of, out of the ring segments, stuff, in the back, and just how organic and real it felt. And then you're seeing 25 years of where you could learn and make those even better. And it's totally devolved. This was just, it was amateur hour with the way they filmed it. I thought it was really bad.
Yeah. It's funny you said that. I didn't like the way it was filmed either. And, if it's supposed to be a surprise, maybe it would have been better to use something like this.
Yes.
Or at least make it look like it's one of these.
Yes.
and use one only. You keep getting shots of the students in there at the, going, oh my goodness, and stuff like that. It looked like a big production.
And
they
start
with someone sneaking in.
And what's confusing, Jimmy, is they started with that. As Liv enters the school, it is potentially the cell phone one camera point of view. Because you don't even see Liv, you see her hand open, and then you think maybe she just has a friend just filming for social media, and then you're right. Then they start doing all these cuts. Like, why? Just keep it like have Liv just have some hanger on filming this way, and let that do it the whole thing as a one shot take. Why would you overproduce this? It totally killed any chance of it having a vibe of, oh wow, look at this, look at this chaos that just happened.
Yeah, and going to the promo in the ring by Liv, it just did not work with the live crowd. It didn't work for me at all. It felt it didn't feel natural at all.
Yeah, it dragged it, and it just felt like, Liv is reading these lines. She's just memorizing lines as opposed to really, saying what she feels. And I think Liv can be a tremendous baby face. She's got a kind of a connection with the crowd. But again, this sometimes with the scripting just gets in the way. and letting her just go out there and be herself. Because Becky, you know, she's got the experience. She can do that. When she comes out, she comes across as such a big superstar. And I think that hurts Liv. And I think Becky, first of all, should be a babyface right now. She can do the exact same shtick. She just needs to take out the part where she insults the audience. She's a babyface. But they're fighting an uphill battle trying to get the fans to boo Becky. I got reports from people that were there that said that Becky got one of the biggest reactions on the show. And the boos that, you know, I asked, I was like, oh, well, there were a lot of boos at the end. They're like, not in the crowd. So they must have piped those in. No, they're fighting it.
You know, you look at Liv too. There seems to be a disconnect too with her and, again, creative decision makers, because you look at her career. She was in the trio of the Riot Squad. Then they, on what was supposed to be a hot shot attempt at a spike of a buzz and rating, had her be teased her as a lesbian with Lana, right? With no payoff or no intent of a payoff. Now they're trying this again. This attempt of her being a singles competitor, trying to force Becky, as you said, Raj, to be a heel when nobody wants to boo Becky. This is just, it's just been kind of a cluster.
Yeah, and Liv just has such a natural charm that I feel like you just tap into that. She's a superstar. But I thought this was every segment I thought tonight, outside of the opening segment with Lashley and MVP, which was fine, wasn't great or anything. But I thought the segments tonight were just really bad.
Yeah. All right, well, you mentioned Lashley. Let's get in the main event. We got Bobby Lashley and Big E, and it should be noted Big E does a quick backstage promo before the match. And again, he refuses to even hear the question of Big E. Can you and Bobby Lashley No. We will not say coexist. Even though that's what we're all thinking. Big E and Bobby Lashley up against Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. Back and forth match, multiple segment as you'd expect here, but the real point here is Lashley hits the spear on KO, gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. Rollins comes in, breaks up this pinfall just beyond the 3 count, so it is a victory for Lashley and Big E. But now Rollins is vertical, Kevin Owens quickly gets vertical. The heels are up on it. Big E is down for the count. They're just attacking Lashley. Ultimately hit the curb stomp on the steps on Bobby Lashley. So the heels standing strong with all the narrative of, they're trying to eliminate Lashley, who shouldn't be in this match anyways at day one. But they're working in unison, that being the heels and KO and Seth Rollins. So heels standing tall. Jimmy, did this help or do anything for your excitement for the world title match at day one?
It's got me very curious, because this almost, I don't want to say guaranteed or cemented the fact that Bobby is turning babyface, but at the same time, it definitely, all signs are pointing that way, because even the way the match was structured, Bobby coming in, getting the hot tag and doing the big comeback and the whole bit, and getting the sympathy, the heat on Bobby, it screams to me that somehow he's going to end up as the babyface in this thing. And will it be an elaborate swerve at the end with MVP, not with Seth and KO? But you know what I mean. So I am interested, because I normally I'm not a big fan of 4-ways, but I'm curious to see how this one goes. Again, this is every man against each other, as opposed to can't they all just get along in a tag match kind of thing. So I am curious.
Raj, have you coexisted with us tonight?
We have. I feel like we were able to coexist tonight. I'm intrigued, because how violent that attack was almost made it feel like they were writing him out of a match. Like, if you were going to write someone out of a match, that's how you do it. But to Jimmy's point, what it seems like to me, there's one Raw left before day one. Probably Big E gets beat down next week. Lashley comes in, makes the save. Big baby face. Now, if that's the swerve that leads to day one and Lashley ends up aligning with MVP, I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see where they go with it. I mean, they could have Lashley turn on Big E and win the title. And, then you got Big E versus Lashley, and Big E doing a real chase, because it's always weird when a babyface cashes in Money in the Bank on a heel and beats them when they're down. So, yeah, I don't know.
It is, and Money in the Bank is always a license to steal. It's better for heels, but like if Big E was to Big E as a babyface, if he was to drop the title at day one, and then you try to have me buy in on a chase from like Rumble to Mania, me personally, I'm not going to be as invested because like he's already been champion. Like I'm not going to buy in as much on the recapture.
Right.
So I mean, if they do choose to swerve us, bro, and Lashley and MVP are fine, and Lashley is still on the heel side of the fence, I think they got to have another babyface lined up to challenge him. I don't think you can just give me Big E chasing Lashley and make that be a quality Mania build. I think that would be a bit of a rehash.
Right. It would be, yeah, especially since they've done it, a few times. They've done it on free TV. But what do you do for Mania? Or maybe you do Lashley as a babyface, because that actually is new, and you have Lashley as a babyface against someone.
And then you have to factor in the part-time players. Does Goldberg get a stake in Mania?
So he does have a victory over Lashley. So
or Big E's been requesting a Goldberg match. Yeah, does Goldberg have a stake? Like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's what's intriguing is like who's better to be the title holder for Mania, heel or face, and then who do you have lined up for them for the marquee?
Especially since you had Lashley beat all of them last week.
Where's Cena? What's John's situation? Can he come back and give a bump to Monday night's viewership?
Exactly, and you got to remember they're in the stadium in Dallas for 2 nights.
Yeah.
So they need some high profile, big name stars that outside of the current I don't want to call it the bubble, but the current wrestling audience.
No, it's true. I mean, I know people will complain about whenever they bring back Goldberg, but when people see him on the poster that don't watch wrestling anymore, they're like, oh my gosh, Goldberg's still around? Is he wrestling? Oh, I might want to see that. It does draw interest. So, yeah,
absolutely.
All things to watch for. Back to this real quick. B Money 04 $4.99 super chat was there live. B Money was. And he says, mentioned to Raj on Twitter, crowd was mostly dead. Only really got up for Becky, Bianca, Edge, and Orton. And yeah, Becky wasn't booed. So Becky, the babyface in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you heard the boos for Becky at the end, and there's a lot of times when you could kind of tell it's piped in, but when you look at the crowd and you see they're not doing anything, and then there's loud boos.
You know what I find funny? All those years with for example, like a Cena or even with Roman recently, when they were baby faces and the crowd, people they're forcing them down our throat and blah. We don't want and now it's almost reversed. Oh, look at this! They're forcing a heel Becky down our throat. We don't want this. I just find the interesting role reversal there.
The circle of wrestling.
Yeah.
Jimmy, when you're out there, especially if you're reffing a match between two characters who might be in a delicate situation of where we're trying to gauge the audience or we're trying to sway the audience, from your perspective, you're watching the match, you're watching the two guys in the ring. Obviously, you're watching their safety. You're trying to make sure the story's getting told. How much are you hearing? How much what you were able to do with us tonight about Liv, about Omos, about all the Lashley? How much are you able to retain live, or do you have to go to the back, take a breath, and go back and watch it on TV later? Like, how much of the live crowd are you retaining of like, oh wow, we're swaying this way or that way?
Believe it or not, it was hit and miss. A lot of times I would tune out the live crowd, and concentrate, because as I like to say, the referee's job is to help the talent tell their story.
Right.
So I'm invested in watching them and listening to them, and I want to pay attention to what they need me to do. And guys will tell you, okay, I need you to do this during the match. So I'm kind of focused there. But then you get into other matches like I'll give you an example. For example, Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio at SummerSlam. I think it was 2002 where they opened the show. The crowd was just on fire. You couldn't help but hear them. And over the years, when I'm noticing the crowd, then that means a lot, because I don't focus on them. I don't intentionally listen for the crowd. I'm trying to concentrate on like I said, helping the talent tell their story.
In those situations, that match in particular, like when you get to the back and you do your business, does Ray or does Kurt, do they say to you, did you hear what I was hearing?
Yeah, they would ask, was it me? Was the crowd on fire? Oh, yes, they were. Or even for that match in particular, it was what, man, they were into that match. And yes, they were. You couldn't help it. It's kind of like when I talked to Mike about Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18 here in Toronto. You couldn't help but notice it. It's just overwhelming. And at times it overtakes you, but most of the times, like I said, I don't focus on crowd reaction. I'm trying to, focus on the 20 by 20.
That's awesome. Very good insight by Jimmy joining us here tonight. Anthony Y, $1.99 super chat. Brock wins Rumble and chooses Lashley at Mania. Ooh, some fantasy booking here.
Ooh, I like it. It just doesn't seem like that's where they're headed.
That'd be interesting. Two beasts. That would definitely have me interested, but I don't know if that's the direction it's going.
And for as long as they've been with the company, the fact that match still hasn't happened. We've had Brock against Ricochet, and we haven't had Brock against Lashley. So,
you know what amazes me though, because I was there when Bobby, first came aboard. He still looks the same, and it really bothers me.
He looks better.
Not fair. It's not fair.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just better. Not fair.
Yeah, he looks better. Bobby Lashley, he's his own freak of a specimen.
Never aging man.
No, he's not. All right, that's going to do it tonight for Raw and Milwaukee. Again, thanks to everybody who's been with us live on YouTube or Twitch. Again, if you choose to just not look at us and do the audio only, we get it. Appreciate you consuming this podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts at. Like, share, comment. If you just tell one friend and they tell one friend, so on and so on, it does a lot of good. We really appreciate it. Again, big thanks to Manscaped for all of their support. There's podcasts on Wrestling after NXT. I'll be with you Wednesday night after AEW. There's none Friday.
Not this Friday.
This
Friday. We're preempted for 2 weeks.
Preempted, but then again, you have Raw, you have Day One, all kinds of stuff. Wrestling Inc. is a place to be. Podcast, subscribe, like, again, comment. Go to WrestlingInc.com. It's free. It's a free website. There's no paywall, none of that nonsense. You can see all the stories for free and read all what's going on. Jimmy, it's been a treat to have you. It's been so long since you and I got to do this. It's been a blast. I hope we do it more often in 2022. Please give a plug, give a shout out, give a sermon, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours.
No, just thank you for having me. Man, this was a blast and great catching up with you again, Justin. It's just awesome. And Raj, thank you for having me on here as well. You can catch me on my social media, as you can see there, at Jimmy Korderas on Twitter, at Real Jimmy Korderas, at Instagram, on Facebook, my social media platforms, where you can catch my weekday ref and rants, where I just give my little critique or little something that stood out to me that maybe I would like to see done differently, or sometimes just every once in a while you get a little ref and respect too.
And Jimmy, I keep plugging your book. It came out a couple years ago, but where can people still purchase? If they're looking for a stocking stuffer, or if they have a friend who's a wrestling fan, a last minute gift, where can they get this book?
The book, well, if you're in Canada, Indigo, their website has it, and also Amazon for sure.
Perfect.
That's where I see it. And speaking of stocking stuffers, I don't know if it's a little late, but you can get your Ref and Rant t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com as well. Yeah, definitely a stocking stuffer if it's not any other kind of stuffer.
And our schedules are all out of whack. But Jimmy will be back here next week as well.
Yeah, I will be back next week for sure.
Oh, you're filling in for me.
No, I'm not hosting. I can't. I just blab.
Yeah.
No, I don't blab.
Well, I'll be traveling. Raj, what's good? Tell us what's good.
Keep checking out Wrestling Inc. It's even with the holidays, it's still super busy. Tons of new content, tons of articles. It never sleeps. It's so keep checking out WrestlingInc.com.
Very good, very good. I'll be back with you for the last time in 2021. Wednesday night with myself and Alfred. We'll be talking AEW Dynamite. Lots to unpack there. And my last Busted Open on SiriusXM appearance will be at some point in the next week and a half. I'll tweet it out. Myself and Dave LaGreca will be talking the top 10 moments in pro wrestling of 2020. 21. So we'll be sized for some debate. Good stuff there. Again, thanks to everybody for the comments, the super chats. Again, I can't stress, like, share, comment, do all those things. It really helps to give us feedback on what you're enjoying, what we can do more of. Thanks to everybody. Be safe. If this is the last time I talk to you, if you don't tune in on Wednesday, happy holidays. Be safe, and we'll see you again the next time on Wrestling Inc. Bye-bye.